Welcome to Overwatch. Welcome to another episode of not probing the menu or coaching the menu. Actually defaulted into an intro. It's just like coffee chat, I guess. I guess this is like coffee chat. Yeah, why not coffee chat? I've got coffee with me. It's still piping hot, so I'm not going to drink it because I burned my hand. But I want to talk quickly about like this lovely lady here because I feel partially responsible for this. I feel partially responsible for the viewpoint that's sort of steadily going to be built up over time, which is that Ashe is going to replace McCree, right? Because, and the reason why I say that, hey, thank you, oh god, 2 interruptions at once. They're going to pop up in a second. They should pop up in a second. Why haven't they popped up yet? Thank you, Labatra, and Sunset Sun as well. Very appreciated, the both of you. I don't know why that hasn't popped up. Where's the alert? Hello, Twitch? Twitch alert? Stream labels, please? I'll do it for you. Welcome to Overwatch. And then, Labatra, interruption. What is it? Owned. And then Sunset Sun, welcome to Overwatch, and then just nothing, no message. There you go. Thank you. I should probably redo the intro, but I'm not going to. I'm too lazy. So yeah, the viewpoint that Ashe is like a replacement of McCree somehow, and like I postulated this when I did that initial video for the Unit Lost channel of like, whoa, Ashe like really seems to step on McCree's toes. She's really gonna replace him. Like it feels like she's just a better McCree. And then I started thinking about it more and more and more, and more people started asking me the question like, what do you think about the place in the game of Ashe? What do you think about the place in the game of McCree? How do these two differ? What do these two do that makes them different? And the way that I came out with like my conclusions is pretty straightforward, actually. I like to do this where I like to imagine, okay, well, what if instead of Ashe being released in the game, what if it was McCree being released in the game and Ashe already existed? So to understand this, you need to understand like Ashe's kit. Okay, well, she has this aim down sights that does quite a lot of damage. She actually has damage drop off that starts at about 30 meters. So if I just shoot from here, you notice it's not like a huge, massive wallop. It's actually, unless they've changed that, because that felt higher than it should be. Like that's sort of more the max damage, right? It brings people down to about 40 hit points, I think. And then from like 35 meters ish, it starts dropping off. So yeah, so she has like damage drop off even on her ADS, but to do her real damage, she has to do ADS. Okay, so you have this trade-off of slowing yourself down to aim and do this sort of stuff to do 160 damage max or 80 damage body shots. Okay. She also has a really cool ability in the dynamite stick, really amazing ability, like probably her best part of her kit, to be honest, is the ability to deal like massive AoE damage and also deal like a big wallop finisher. It floats very nicely into your crosshair for a good amount of time. I managed to miss it there, but it does like a real wallop of damage. Her ultimate Bob is an interesting one. It's very, very good area denial. But if an entire team starts shooting at Bob, for example, then he's just going to die very quickly. Bob also doesn't, like, chew down people and kill people. It's very much like an initiation tool of, we're engaging, we're going to take this space, run forward, send Bob in to stand on the point, and then Bob's going to provide some extra DPS here and there. He's also going to perhaps provide a launcher or a finisher, but Bob is also very vulnerable to stuff like sleep darts. Bob gets slept all the freaking time. So yeah, he has vulnerabilities. Let's take McCree. Now, I want you to imagine, just join me in the world of make-believe. Imagine if, instead of Ashe being released, McCree was being released, and you're comparing McCree to Ashe. And thank you, Cerberus, as well. I don't know why the alerts aren't working. I really don't know why the alerts aren't working. That's really, really silly. They should be working. There's no reason why they're not. Anyway, so imagine if McCree got released while Ashe existed in the game, and then you're suddenly going, well, hang on, McCree can deal 140 damage with pinpoint accuracy, without doing ADS, moving around freely. He has a movement ability that's kind of crap, but does reload him, which honestly is one of Ashe's biggest weaknesses, is her slow reload. And you can just run around shooting people all goddamn day. He also has an incredibly powerful ability in the flashbang, which I can't show off super easily against training bots because the bots don't really care. But it's actually a pretty good all-round kit. And then, like, Fan the Hammer will kill a 200 hit point hero and actually do like respectable damage to tanks, very, very similar to Ashe's left clicks, but actually comes out faster, reloads faster. It's pretty freaking good. So what does this mean? Why am I saying all this stuff? And then like Deadeye as well, can kill people, just very good zone denial in general, kind of a useful area denial ultimate, nice win condition for a team as well if they are going to play around it. So it's like when you start thinking of it in that way of like, hang on, if you release McCree into Ashe rather than Ashe into McCree, McCree actually comes out of it sounding pretty good. Like, he's he's a little bit more mobile while fighting. He's got, like, the stun is just amazing, blocks a lot of abilities, shuts down a lot of abilities. He has one-shot potential on most of the casts with Fan the Hammer. And his ultimate's okay. His mobility is, like, the big weakness. He has no AoE tools like Ashe has, but he's actually pretty good. And so what I started to get thinking is like, okay, well, what you can do now as well is rather than have McCree, who kind of surprisingly wears many hats at the moment in terms of like he's there to slow down tank pushes and stuff, but he's also there to beat flankers. He's also just generally your main hit scan DPS choice at the moment. Ashe and McCree give you options. And this is an important concept to understand, because the thing you shouldn't be asking as well is like, oh, what is the state of Ashe now, and what is the state of McCree now? It's where can Ashe be in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, 4 months' time, 6 months' time, 12 months' time? What does this mean for the game? And one of the arguments I always made, and one thing you'll hear me say quite a lot if you watch my VOD reviews, is you'll hear me use the word pieces, right? I say like, oh, like the Reinhardt piece isn't doing this, or the Doomfist piece does this. And the reason why is because I used to watch a lot of a guy called Knorr who does Blood Bowl stuff, and he referred to the little figurines, little units as pieces, and that sort of just naturally folded into my lexicon of how I think about stuff in team-based games, right? If you treat all 6 individual things like pieces, and they all bring individual things, and suddenly, like, Overwatch just starts to click better for me, and that's sort of how I think of it. And so if you think about the Ashe piece, like, what does Ashe bring? Like, a knight on a chessboard brings you this mobility option. It's very good for, like, taking queens and stuff as well that other pieces can't quite do. Ashe brings you, well, AoE burn damage. She brings you some good, like, medium to long-range fighting. She can only really be contested by Widowmaker at long range. She brings you accuracy, AoE damage, a little bit of mobility, and actually some pretty good peel with the knockback tool as well. So she gives you like a nice diverse kit. She also has like a surprisingly decent DPS if you just like smash the left click, mostly useful on larger targets like tanks. So in my mind, I always picture Ashe as like a clump buster with her AoE damage, and like Bob is very good at breaking up clumps. And also, if you're just like drilling the left click into a tank or in like something with a relatively large hitbox, you can see how fast and easy it is to kill a target. So she's actually pretty good and pretty okay at fighting against stuff like, you know, Winston's, Divas, Reinhardt's, your tanky pieces. So yeah. And so the way I think of it is like in 6 months' time, you can develop Ashe to be more of the tank counter, right? You can build her up to make her better against tanks, make her better against sort of larger targets or larger clumps, and then what you can do is you can make it so that McCree becomes more specialized. So if the enemy team is running a tanky comp, like a Goats comp, you might want Ashe. If you have a team that's running a comp that's more like Tracer Genji, Doomfist, stuff like that, then if you buff McCree a little bit in a couple of ways, he might be better against those heroes. As it is now, I would agree that Ashe does step on a lot of McCree's toes, however. So like Negative Zero says in chat, how do you balance this not to intersect the two roles? I have two sides of the same coin. I mean, they can be two sides of the same coin. It's just that Ashe is like your more aggressive, higher DPS option. McCree is more control-oriented, which to me sort of fits in the, you know, the villain in my mind as well, from like a ludo-narrative perspective, big words, is like the villain should be the DPS-oriented one, right? She has aggressive, offensive options with like the dynamite as well is like a very powerful zoning tool because you can't get rid of it. So like if they have a big bunch of tanks trying to push, and you just throw some dynamite into a choke point, it becomes very, very difficult to suddenly justify pushing through that without waiting for it to explode, so it buys your team some time. Like she has these tools to sort of help deal with tanks and tank pushes and big clumped up pushes. As it is now, I would say that Ashe still kind of trumps McCree, just because as it is, like Flashbang has issues with like how it's thrown and the range of it and how that works. Well, this is just good all round. Like it's very, very good at pushing off Genji's, very good at pushing off Doomfists. Doomfist has a very hard time completing combos against Ashe, and it just makes you very, very powerful. I've also fought a lot of Tracers. Like I remember spitballing a while back that maybe Tracer would be pretty good against Ashe. I'd say it's actually a relatively even matchup now. Like my thoughts are more that it's fairly even, depends on sort of the skill of the two, because as Ashe, all you're doing is basically like looking for the headshot. If you manage to get it, then you win. If she gets in close, you just sort of do this and try and blow her away. She has to recall, and then you go back to firing headshots, or you blow her back, and then you try and get headshots that way. So it is a difficult matchup for the Tracer. But if Tracer gets in and forces you to use your dynamite, which is a bit slow for Tracer, she can generally win that. I would also say that part of the reason why Ashe is strong against McCree is also just like the hitboxes. Female characters naturally are small. It's a weird thing when like the gender of the character does reflect a balance aspect of it, but female characters in Overwatch generally have thinner silhouettes. She's generally, you know, the ladies of Overwatch are generally quite slender, and as a result they have smaller hitboxes. Hitboxes in Overwatch are generally pretty accurate to their sort of what they look like, so yeah, it's something to be aware of. As McCree, on contrast, is just like a fridge. You know, he's a big buff dude. You can see how much broader his chest is, broader his shoulders are. His head even seems to be a little bit larger. His stance is also a little bit wider as well, which just makes him like a big rectangle. So McCree's honestly a little bit more vulnerable to being DPS. I'd also say like Ashe has the same thing. It's impossible for me to show you this in first person. But when she goes into aim, it's a lot like Anna when she aims. She hunches down a little bit. Her sort of hitbox spreads a little bit as well with how her stance is, so she becomes that little bit harder to hit. As it is now, I would say Ashe is probably the stronger of the two. But again, don't think in terms of like now, think in terms of 6 months down the line, because this gives, like, having more options in the game means that each of those individual options can be tailored to more individual situations, and hopefully what we can see is an evolution of McCree to be something a little bit more exciting than what he is at the moment. Otherwise, yeah, that's sort of all I wanted to say. Anything you want to interject, chat, just feel free to do so. But otherwise, I think I have said my piece on this much. This has been a pseudo Twitch VOD, but also a pseudo YouTube video. Just quickly throwing it out there. I'm gonna go and review France. I wanna see what France was gonna do. I was gonna do that, and then Ashe came out and joined us and graced us with her lovely presence. I really do like this hero. I'm gonna be playing her a lot. I can tell you that already. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.